So what I'll be demonstrating in this video is how useful lateral work on the circle can be. Now we need to teach the 4 lateral movements individually first of all, just on a simple circle, before we start joining them together. But then once they know how to do shoulder in on the circle and counter shoulder in on the circle, Renvers and Travers, we can start to join certain exercises together, and then we can increase the difficulty of how we actually chain them together. Now shoulder in and... You're falling off, buddy. Shoulder in and the Renvers on the circle is an exercise which takes the movement around their shoulders. So we can say that their balance is on their shoulders, their quarters are moving around their shoulders. The counter shoulder in and the Travers, the movement is going around their quarters. So we can say that the balance is to their quarters. As I said, we need to teach these 4 lateral movements individually, but then we can start to ride a figure of 8, doing one movement on one circle and changing the movement on the second circle. Now the easiest ones to pair together to begin with are the counter shoulder in and the Travers, because both of these exercises keep the balance to the quarters. So as you ride the figure of 8, there's actually no change of balance for the horse. Even though the Travers is more difficult, the counter shoulder in and the Travers, the movement is the horse is moving around their quarters. So the next 2 that we can pair together is the shoulder in on the circle and the Renvers. Both of these movements, the balance is to the shoulders. So again, on the figure of 8, there's actually not a change of balance required. Now, what can then get interesting is if we take, for example, the shoulder in and the counter shoulder in and ride the figure of 8. In that small space of time, as you change one circle to the next circle, there is a change of balance. So for example, the shoulder in on the circle, the movement is around their shoulders, the balance is to the shoulders. But then if we change to the counter shoulder in, the balance will definitely move back to the quarters. The next 2 that we can pair together, which is the most advanced option, is the Travers and the Renvers. So the Travers, the movement is very much moving around their quarters, and the Renvers is a movement that's balancing around their shoulders. So again, there's quite a big shift of balance required in the horse as you change one circle to the next. Also for us, for the rider, it's a very useful way of developing our coordination. Really, we do need to understand the leg aids for each individual lateral movement, but also it's a way that we can really study our weight aid, because no matter what we're doing in terms of the horse's movements, because we're riding circles, the weight aids don't actually change. The weight aid just remains a circle weight aid. Now we do have a change of weight aid for the shoulder in on the straight line. It's definitely important to sit to the outside as we're riding the shoulder in on the straight line. But when we are doing any lateral work on the circle, the weight aid remains to the inside. But even so, it's a great exercise, both for our coordination and obviously for the horses too. So we'll begin with the shoulder in and slowly, slowly, slowly. Good. So now I'm going to keep the balance to his shoulders. I'm going to keep the bend to the left, but now I'm going to ask the quarters to go out. Onto the renvers on the circle. So both exercises are exercises that put the balance around their shoulders. No. And again, back to the shoulders in. So both movements, the quarters are moving around their shoulders. Good. The second group is counter shoulder in, where we have the bend to the outside and the quarters to the inside. So this is clearly a movement where the balance is around the hind legs, it's around their quarters. Slowly. Now moving on to the second circle, keeping the bend to the right, but also now moving the quarters to the right into the Travers, and slowly, slow. So even though this is a more difficult exercise, the balance is still to his quarters. Slowly, slowly. Good. And back to the counter shoulder in. So one's an easy exercise, one's a bit more difficult. What we can do then is we can start to change the balance through the figure of 8. So if we start in a minute, hold on. Okay, so if we start again with the shoulder into the circle, don't come above, darling. Shoulders in. So rather than keep the bend to the shoulders like it is now, what I'm going to do is go into the counter shoulder in. So now the balance is transferred to the hind legs, and the movement is now around his hind legs. And back to the shoulder in, where the balance comes back to the shoulders and the hind legs move around their shoulders. Good. Good boy. And now the second way that we can change the balance through the figure of 8, which is the most advanced sequence, is beginning with Travers on the circle. Now keeping my eggs exactly the same, changing the weight aid back to the right, to the inside, and to the Renvers on the circle. So now his balance is swapped now to the shoulders. The quarters are on a bigger circle. And now I change the weight aid, and leg aids stay the same to the Travers. Slowly back to the Travers. So the movement is now back around his hind legs. Good lad. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. Good.